afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. As we close out 2014, today we're going to take a look back at some beautiful gardens, see some of the year's best new flowers, and review some tips from our series of garden-to-table programs. Joining me is our frequent contributor from UVM Extension, Leonard Perry. Great to see you again.
It's great to be back.
Now, we have lots of things to show our viewers. Where would you like to start?
Okay, I thought we'd go back to the summer, which is a great thing to do this time of year.
Absolutely.
When winter's raging outside, and look at pretty gardens in Bristol, Vermont. It's called Rockydale Gardens. And one of the interesting things there, they have a lot of new plants and different plants, unusual woody plants and perennials, but these gardens have been going for over 30 years. And one of the things that happens is gardens grow, they get overgrown, and so the current owner, Ed Burke, who wasn't the original owner, inherited this and had to deal with the gardens, you know, and what he do. So why don't we take a look at this video and short visit with Ed Burke.
Okay.
That, you know, when something's planted, it may look good, but it's not like a painting. Landscapes change.
Well, exactly. I always tell people that putting in a landscape is very different from putting a floor in your house. You put a new floor in your house, looks shiny, looks great. You expect it to look like that for all the years you have that floor. And it probably will, for the most part. But a landscape changes every year. And the pawpaws are a good example of that. They lasted as trees for 20 years probably, and now they're doing well in colonizing. It's something totally different. Out it has to go.
So if you're going to have a landscape over the long haul, you need to plan on some change.
Well, landscapes are organic. They change. It's a moving target. You can't, if you want to keep everything the same, you're better off putting in fake plants.
That garden had some nice tips and design tips as well. And so another place that you got a lot of design tips was from the Montreal Botanical Gardens.
Yes, Judy. Love to go there each year and actually take a group up there. And each year they have some new plants and lots of great combinations. And I brought a few pictures. Here's one of their main flower walk with some salvia, some of the short gold zinnias, and then some of the plume celosia on the outside. The primary colors, great combinations. Here's the same color theme, actually with some gold rudbeckia, some red impatiens, New Guinea impatiens, and blue ageratum. Again, masses of plants. You don't have to have that many at home, but you can still get the same effect even in a container. Now here's again something that, you know, these tropical type plants, the elephant ears, the green there, and then the purple type upright salvia. Very striking combination, very simple combination. Again, something you could do in a container. As is this, a monochromatic, just one color. The pinks here from the low sedum as a ground cover, and then some of the tall pink hibiscus right up in the middle of that for some height. Here's one we actually grew at home this year, really loved, but it didn't get this big. But this is a black-eyed Susan vine, has that little darker center, Arizona Glow, and you can see it in a pot just creeping over. Ours actually was in a pot climbing up a trellis, so you can use that type plant. This is a new bed they had this last year, dahlias. I just can't grow dahlias like this, and it's just amazing to see. This is one reason a lot of times these are called dinner plate dahlias, because that could pretty much fill a dinner plate. This
huge
example of one right there.
Now, you were also in Montreal in the fall for the tour that you lead to see the Chinese lanterns, which is always spectacular.
Exactly. That's something we do each year and have a show on. People can see online. But this year, and they change this each year with a different theme. And these are not your just porch lanterns like you might hang around your house. So I brought a few pictures just to give you an idea of the theme this year. Was about an admiral from the Ming Dynasty in China, Zhang He, and he did a lot of explorations and brought back exotic things to China, including a giraffe, and hence the giraffe. And you take a look at nighttime, they're just spectacular. The detail on these are designed in Montreal. They're actually made in China, shipped over, assembled into the summer and into fall. You see these, but again, huge, larger than life a lot of times. Here's the pond with the boats on it, a pagoda in the background, all lit up, a lot of LED lights here, thousands of them. Here's part of Zhang He's flotilla, and I was wondering, well, where's, by daytime it, it varies each year, but this looked okay, but at nighttime it just glows, especially with that reflection in the water and the mountain lit up in the background. So again, the Chinese lanterns and Montreal Botanic Garden in the fall each year.
Spectacular. Well, now in the spring you showcase for us the best of the new flowers from your display garden at the Burlington Waterfront.
Exactly. We have an All-America Selections Garden, which is a national program that basically the best of the new flowers are judged and get the AAS, All-America designation, and you see the logo. And then we have signs down there. We have about 100 different ones, not only of those, but of a lot of the newer flowers, courtesy of a couple of growers there, and Burlington Parks and Recreation actually plants it, helps us plant it, and maintains these beds. So right at Burlington Waterfront, there's the boathouse in the background. Each year we feature the gardens from the last year's, hence this is 2013 that we showed this last spring. And there's in August in full glory, all the main bed there, and we have several different beds. Another view of that bed with everything grown, all kinds of different things in bloom there. This was from this last year. This is a sneak preview. This is we're going to show these pictures this coming spring, what were the best winners from this last year, but that's the same bed to show you how it changes. In the center of this main bed we have all these perennials, and I just thought that it looked like kind of like a cottage garden. They just all grew together. Just thought that was a gorgeous view there. Down by the boathouse we have geraniums. This in 2013 we have different plants each year again in these beds, kind of in tiered level. Again in 2013 by the bike path we had these with this pinacetum called Vertigo, which is just this huge monster of a grass, and these petunias growing together. But this last year, same bed, geraniums, some lantana, and a couple of different grasses alternating there. So you can kind of see the difference from year to year. Just a few of the highlights, some of the ones we featured that I really like. This is actually a popular color for this coming year, this bubblegum color, and this has been a great petunia for us. I'm not really a pink person, but I really like that one. New Guinea impatiens, these are resistant to that downy mildew disease. It's getting a lot of the shade impatiens, and these actually do well in the sun. These have been great performers, and in fact, for 2015, there's a new color, All-America winner in that mix. This Cleome spider flower, this is about 3 foot high, and there's actually a new one we'll show this coming spring from our bed last year called Pequena Rosalita. It's a smaller version. And then there's salvias. This is an upright form of this Texas sage, as it's called, different type of salvia, very attractive to hummingbirds. This was an All-America winner. The pink was a winner, and in fact, white is another winner for this coming year. And then finally, a look at a foliage plant, one of the new pinacetums, Fireworks, very bright color foliage. It really makes a striking show in pots or beds, as it was here.
Well, now we're going to move from flowers to vegetables. You had several shows this past year with garden expert Kathy LaLiberte of Richmond, and you selected some of the highlights. Right.
Well, I thought we'd start with the first one, going back to May. So we'll go back to May this last year. And one of the things that we featured, which is one of my new favorite parts of vegetable gardening, is grow bags. So why don't we take a look and see what these grow bags are.
Now, one of the things I thought we should talk about, I know it's been very popular, are these grow bags. I know you use these too.
I do. I grow regular potatoes and sweet potatoes in them.
Great. Well, this is the one that has the potato sprouted. I planted about a month ago. I put it in a place that doesn't freeze. I've got a small greenhouse. You could use an unheated garage. Those are about a month old. As they grow, you notice it's about a third full. Then I'll keep adding soil. So it's great. You can use different soil in there because they like it a little bit more acidic. You can use different varieties, you can move them about, and then here we have one ready to plant. I use a mix of about half and half potting soil and compost. Now, what do you use?
I use about a third compost and 2/3 Pro Mix.
Okay, and I like the Pro Mix for bigger bags because it's a lot lighter than this. When this gets full, I don't want to be moving these, but here's an example of one of these. You want to get either a piece of potato or full potato with 2 or 3 of these eyes or buds, and just put it down. I put 5 in here and push it just below the surface, and then again, as they grow and sprout, just add more. Now, one of the things they've come out with, which I just wanted to show, I'm going to try these this year, I haven't, are different sizes and shapes. Now, I got these are for carrots. They're deeper, so I got orange for carrots, of course, purple for the peppers. This is not as deep and wider, so I'm going to try that. And then this real deep one here, bright blue, I'm going to use for a tomato. I thought the red tomato would against the blue would be a nice attraction. So you can have color, you can have for a small space garden, or patio, you can actually have a garden in these too.
Yeah, and I have a plenty big garden, but I still use them because they work really great.
Likewise.
I know you were going to try those. How did they work out for you?
They worked out great. I had great carrots, and that tomato bag worked great. Actually, it was earlier and better tomatoes because it was above ground, the soil stayed warmer, tomatoes grew faster.
Nice.
Now let's take a look in July at garlic. That's one of the crops we featured then, and both the bulbs and the scapes. Most people know the garlic bulbs and you buy in the store, but this is how it really starts.
Yeah, these are, this is the garlic about to go to flower. This is called a garlic scape, and as it matures, this will straighten out like this, and you'll see the typical globe flower up here, but you don't really want to let them do that, although they look so cool like this.
They really are attractive.
I know. But if you snap these off, they come right off, and that is called a garlic scape, and you can use these, you can grill them, you can chop them up and use them in a salad. You can also make pesto out of them.
Great, so a lot of uses just for the scapes,
yep.
And you do want to take those off, attractive as they are, because we found, we grow a lot of garlic, that if you leave them on, the plant's putting all its energy into making that flower, and you want it to put its energy into the bulb, because that's what actually, in a short time, when the leaves start dying back, that's when you harvest those bulbs, garlic bulbs. So, so you want the energy to go back into those, so you get as big ones as possible. And then, the thing I like, too, about garlic, in addition to, you plant it in the fall, which a lot of people don't realize, and then you can just forget about it, and it's really pretty carefree, I find.
Oh, very.
And then you harvest it in the midsummer, like I say, in about a couple, 3 weeks, and along about toward the end of July, and then you put something else in.
One of the things we learned that even garden experts have some trouble. This past summer, you discussed one of the problems. Let's head back to the garden with Kathy and Leonard.
You've got a beautiful, before you had a beautiful set of onions coming along. I understand you've had a problem with those.
Yeah, just probably 10 days ago they were, ready for the state fair. But now they have what I think is powdery mildew, which is made the foliage, it's kind of gray and melted looking. But I'm leaving them there because I don't think it's going to affect the bulbs. And I have been using the bulbs in the kitchen. They seem to be fine. And as the bulbs, as the tops crash over, which means that they're ready to be pulled, I am pulling them. But I'm going to let the ones that are still upright, I'm just going to wait.
So even if people have onions without that problem, they should wait until the tops start falling over, and that's a sign to harvest
Yeah,
them.
unless you need it in the kitchen, then you should just take it right away.
And that's a good point, too. A lot of this stuff, there isn't a golden moment. You have to wait till.
That's
if you want some onions, harvest them. You want some peppers,
absolutely.
If they're not colored yet, I know ours usually don't get colored because we're eager for peppers. And
yeah.
Quick look back at vegetable gardens.
Right, Judy, and one of the things that I think is really interesting that I took away is the fact that you don't have to wait till all these crops are mature. You can pick them early if you want and need those crops. Now let's go to last fall to see a last segment on winter squash, some of the different varieties.
All right.
Tell us about the winter squash you've harvested. I know I brought some, but you have a couple
Yeah,
too.
I brought Kabocha, which the plants only produce about, a plant will produce 1 or 2. They're not very productive, but these are really a sweet, delicious squash. And then my main squash crop is butternut. And that I love because it's so versatile. And I probably have 40 butternut squash put away. Yeah.
Well, these are gorgeous ones. And I didn't grow squash this year, but there are plenty of farmers markets, and I've been to and picked up a few of these different ones. Of course, you have to have some of the ornamental little mini pumpkins.
Yeah.
Of course, everyone knows the big pumpkins and all the things you can do with those. Some ornamental gourds, which again, we like to decorate with inside in the fall. But as far as the winter squash, and I like those because they're very nutritious, high in potassium, they've got some good vitamins and minerals in them, and about the same calories as potatoes, but very versatile for roasting, so forth. And for instance, here's the acorn, probably very common compared to the butternut, the two most common really, and it's obviously from the shape, kind of an acorn shape. What you want to look for in that, if you're getting those or picking them, is a dull green rind. If they go orange, they tend to be a bit tough on the inside and fibrous. The Delicata, this one that's very striped and kind of elongated, it's often called a sweet potato squash. It has a consistency like sweet potatoes when you cook it. Similar to summer squash in that the skin is fairly thin, so it's edible, but you really have to be careful that so you don't bruise it, because then it won't really store as well. One, it's kind of a hybrid here, and this is the Acorn crossed with a smaller version. It's kind of yellow, sweet dumpling it's called, and this is Carnival Squash, a very pretty one with a sweet yellow flesh on the inside. You'd use it as you would an acorn or butternut squash. And then this one, which is kind of interesting, called, for various obvious reasons, a Turk's cap or Turban Squash. And that's a mild, sweet flesh, which is good roasted or in soup. And you can use then the rind for like a tureen. A lot of good alternatives here with the winter squash.
Well, it's been quite a year. If people are interested in learning about more of your tours, what should they do?
To learn about the upcoming tours, as well as see these and other programs, they can go to my website, perrysperennials.com.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.